Yeah, the first song that I got is that I wanted to show y'all is this tune that I did with Young Morpheus, a rapper from Miami, and Jaden Clover, a singer from London/Birmingham. Yeah, so that's the final product that went live, I think last week, maybe we dropped that. I thought it would be interesting to maybe show you all the demo of like how that song first started. So I guess this song really started like, it's I like to just, I don't know, just let things flow really. I would have started with the drums first. And you can have a look at the drums here. When I'm in the process of creating, I don't really worry too much about mixing. I just worry about trying to get as many ideas on paper as possible. So there's no real channels on like effects or anything that I'm really, or EQs that I'm really worried about at this point. I'm really just trying to get as many ideas on the table as possible. So it would have just started with that kick and snare, I think. And a bunch of hi-hat, like shakers, just to fill out the groove. And as I said, when I'm in the studio, I'm just trying to jot as many ideas as possible. I'm not really worried about if it's good or not. I'm just trying to jot as many things as possible. So I laid down a vocal because I was just feeling it in the moment. We didn't end up using any of that, but I think it's just really good to get into a habit of creating. And once you develop that skill set or that muscle memory, being in the studio just becomes like second nature, and you're able to put down as many ideas as possible. And later when you're actually going through the process of editing and getting your songs ready for mixing and mastering, you can make those choices later on. I think it's just really important to try and feel wherever the music takes you. So we'll listen to the demo just for a little bit.
This joint's for everyone that's got some butterflies in their stomach. Woo! And some tingling in their feet. Call that stress relief. Let's roll. Yeah, this joint for anyone that's feeling a little bit anxious about something that's going on in their life. When the stress gets too much.
I'll just quickly talk about, for this tune I used Analog Lab 5. Well, I use Analog Lab 5 a lot actually, just because there's so many sounds on here that you can just explore, and we can go into the E. And it's so easy to just start molding the sound however you want, you know. And you know, if I'm not feeling that sound, I can just maybe not that guy. But you know, so it's just really easy to flick through ideas and just see wherever the music takes you, really.
Everything in your life, all the struggle and strife, just gotta move that thing. It's alright, it's alright. Just gotta hit that one more time. Goddamn butterfly.
So I already came up with a hook, a verse, a chorus, and everything, but you know, like I wasn't really happy with it, and so we got young Morpheus in, and you know, like when we were creating, when we were in the studio together, like the first thought, best thought, the first thing that came out of his mouth to the beat was,
how you doing? Know it's been a while, can I call your phone? How you doing? How you doing? Know it's been a while, can I call your phone? How you doing? Know it's been a while, can I call your phone? How you doing? Know it's been a while, can I call your phone? Let me holler at you. Know it's been a while, can I call your phone? Let me holler at you. A quiet place, we could roll the
you know, like going off that idea, I think it's really important to turn your beats into actual songs. Like, and so like one of the important things about that is, you know, just coming up with concepts and coming up with ideas on how you can create like a kind of story with that. And so, you know, when he came up with those lyrics, it was we were brainstorming ideas on what the concept would be, and you know, like,
oh, it's been a while, can I call your phone?
Let me holler at you. So like this idea of sort of like, you know, being in different places in the world and trying to connect with your friends or your partner or your significant other, and you know, so we got in the studio and based the whole song around that concept. So like when Jaden came in, you know, we already had a strong idea about, you know, what the song is and where the song should be going. And I think it's really important to be, you know, to have a narrative with all your things, because anyone can make beats, you know, like anyone can open up Ableton and do anything, but what makes you really you, or what makes your productions that will stand out, I guess, is really the ideas and the stories that you put into your music. So when we got Jaden in, she came up with a verse that was centered around that theme.
Call me back if you find a place, I'm in my room. Time zone, fucking with me, I'm in your zone. Bar one, when you hit me, I'm all alone. With you. Holla back, I'm kinda tipsy, I'm in my zone. What's up, feeling frisky, all in your phone. Bar one, when you hit me, you're all alone. With you.
How you doing? Know it's been a while, can I call your phone? How you doing? How you doing? Know it's been a while, can I call your phone? How you doing? How you doing? Know it's been a while.
And you know, with a lot of this like sort of house stuff,
Know it's been a while, can I call your phone?
I'll be bouncing all my stuff to tape. So like I'll be printing the audio as I go, just so that I'm not using as much like processing power on the laptop, and B, also because it sort of fixes you into making choices. And like, you know, a lot of music is about effective decision making and making choices like on the fly. So like I like to be locked down, and if I need to go back to the sound and edit the sound, then I've got the Analog Lab VST ready to go for me to reprint or rebounce the sound if need be. So, you know, we came up with the vocals, came up with the chorus, really liked the idea, came up with the first verse, second, and then I brought Jaden and a young Morph back into the studio to basically round out the song, because we just had the first couple of ideas, and so we'll play that.
Well, can I call your phone? Let me holler at you.
Call me back if you find a place, I'm in my room. Time zone, fucking with me, I'm in your zone. Bar one, when you hit me, I'm all alone.
once I got it to that point, I did all my little mixes and like little bits of EQs on the vocals. You know, I like to use like a lot of different things. Like for vocals especially, I use like this CLA Vocals by Chris Lord. I don't even know how to pronounce that guy's name, but he's a famous mixing engineer. And it's just so easy for me to run through this stuff, like, because all the stuff's really there already. If I just get his vocals up.
You're all alone with you. Call me back if you find a place. I'm in my room. Time's on, fucking with me. I'm in your zone. Bottom one, when you hit me, I'm all alone with you. Holla back, I'm kinda.
So yeah, and I guess, you know, the one thing that I learned from this track is it's really one of the first time that I've used like a lot of sub bass in my mixes, and so so once we sent these stems to mastering to the mixing engineer, he came back and, you know, like, I thought the tune was done. We had sent it off to the label and everything, and like, you know, I feel like one of the lessons that is really important being a producer is testing your music on as many different sound systems as possible, you know, and like, whilst the tune was feeling good in my headphones, in the studio, like on my own speakers, like when I was bumping the tune in the car, in my mate's car, like the bass was kind of muddying up everything in the mix, and like,
Come and dance and play. 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 How you doing? Know it's been a while. Can I call your phone? How you doing?
so at the last minute, I basically replayed the bass on a much cleaner synth that had like a little bit more, less sub frequencies that were going to be clashing with the Rhodes. So I'm gonna put the Rhodes up. And so, you know, when I sent that back to the mixing engineer after we'd done everything, and like the tune felt a lot more well-rounded in a bunch of different listening environments, which I think is really important to just get across, is just basically testing your tunes on as many different sound systems as possible, so that you can make sure that anyone that's listening to your tune is like listening to it the best, on the best, you know, as clearly from your thought into what they're hearing on their system. So yeah, I guess that's that tune really. I love to use like a lot of found sounds to really make the music mine, you know. So like, you know, in this tune, because it was about phone, like, you know, calling your lover from the other side of the world, I think it's just a nice touch to like just create more of a story.
What we gonna do with these joints, doggy? They go crazy. They can't just sit in the vault.
And you know, that little vocal snippet over there was actually like a WhatsApp recording, like that young Morph sent me on WhatsApp. Just dragged it into the session, and you know, I felt like it really, yeah, brought the tune to a full circle, you know, like.
What we gonna do with these joints, doggy? They go crazy. They can't just sit in the vault.
Yeah, so that's Holla At You. The next tune that I thought I'd run through is this tune from my last album, Third. It's called The Get Down. I'll just play it for you real quick. This tune goes really hard with the band. I really love playing it with the band. So yeah, I'll just show you how that came from demo stage into, you know, what the tune is that you hear it on the album. As I said before, you know, like a lot of, you know, it's just about jotting down as many ideas as possible. With this one, I think I first started with this drum break. And then started adding like the kicks and snares to the beat. Just to give it some more fullness. Then would have come in with the guitar. And you can hear my really, really, really bad bass playing here. So basically just trying to get down as many ideas as possible, you know, come up with the bridge, come up with the B section. And this is me really trying to go like Fela Kuti style, like, and you know, like once I had this little acid line here. I think it's really, you know, for me anyway, like I love collaborating with folks, you know, and I feel like in order to get the best music product possible, like it's really important to surround yourself with people that are really good at what they do, because, you know, as one individual or one human being, you're not going to be good at everything. So like for me, like, you know, I'm always going to live gigs. I'm always looking for new musicians to play with, new producers to work with, or new singers. Like I'm looking for as many inspirations as possible. And like, thank God my boy Horatio Luna came in, and as you can tell from my horrible bass playing, like he laid down some crazy shit. You know, something that I could never do on my own, you know, like. And then I also linked up with my guys True Vibe Nation from Sydney to like mimic that synth line that I showed you earlier on the brass. And you know, something that I said before was like, you know, trying to infuse as much of you into your music as possible, you know. And like one sound that I found whilst I was walking the streets of India, like my hometown, was this. There's these like, these guys that do a lot of work with textiles, and they just walk the streets and like to signal to the community that they're like in the local area, they'll make these noises, you know. And so I recorded that, put that through a bunch of different effects, you know, like just to get it vibing in the mix. And so yeah, it really, you know, it's like a very soft touch, but like, you know, it made that tune more me, like as opposed to any other producer that's out there, you know. And like also bringing in my guys on bass, my guys on brass, you know, like it just makes the song much more fuller than I could ever do on my own. And like, so I really, really value the idea of, you know, like as a producer, like it's your responsibility to be searching for new talent and to be always on the lookout for things that are inspiring and things that excite you, you know. I guess another, you know, in terms of getting this beat into an actual song besides the vocals, like was this, I used the Arturia Micro Brute to come up with this. I mean, that kind of sound you're never gonna get on a VST. Like, you know, that's like, yeah, that the grit and the bottom end and everything is you know, can only come about through like, you know, real analog instruments. And so like I like to use as much guitars, like you know, real world stuff as possible, because it really takes your music from out of the box and makes it cut through in the mix and makes it just a lot more physical and a lot more real. So like at any chance possible, like I'll always be, you know, trying to use as much like real world equipment as I possibly can. So I'll play you Hey Poppy just quick so that we get an idea of what's going on.
And me and my boy were sitting there smoking. All of a sudden, I didn't know what the hell was going on, man. I started going like this. You know what was going on? I went to the Keys County Hospital and for a blood test. And they found PCP in my, PCP is angel there.
So this is a field recording I did with real late at night on a real crazy night out. And yeah, I think it's important to just record as many sounds as possible, because you never know when it's going to come in handy. Shit. You need to be careful, isn't it? You don't know what you're smoking. Yeah, I guess I'll just go through like how that song first started. Like besides the field recording that you hear at the start. A lot of the tunes, like my tunes, like I'll, as I said, I'll just jot down as many ideas as possible, and then I'll see where the music takes me. So with this one, I program my own drums. Laid down some guitar. So yeah, you know, the final version actually didn't change all that much, but I guess, you know, one of the things that I did do was go into the studio with my boy Ross Ferraro at 301 Studios and you know, recorded some live drums on it, which really gave it a lot more rhythm, a lot more bounce, a lot more feeling to the music, and like actually added some of the original samples from my beat on top of his drum kit to like blend the organic with the real world instrumentation. So I'll show you what the drums ended up sounding like. And you know, there's just a feeling that you can't get with programmed drums, you know, like just the ghost notes, the textures, the hidden noises that really make a tune come alive. Like. I also got my girl Paloma to do backing vocals with me. As I said, just sharing your music with as many people as possible is a beautiful thing, you know, so I would highly, highly encourage it. Yeah, so that's that tune. I thought it would also be interesting, you know, because as I've gone on in my journey with music now, where, you know, I'm performing with a band, and like I find it interesting bringing the songs that I've made in the studio like pretty much by myself, like obviously bringing in other musicians to do drums and bass and backing vocals or whatever, but like reverse engineering that and getting the band to perform that music live. And so I pulled out a recording that we did at the Jazz Cafe last year. find it really interesting, like reverse engineering like the tunes for the band, because like now I'm at a point where I feel like working with the band so much, like this next record that I'm going to be working on is about taking the band to the studio and then taking those stems and bringing it to like my beat making roots and like editing that. So everything's come really full circle, and like I think it's really, you know, what I've done a lot with the group is actually save all my presets from Arturia so that my keyboardist has them on the fly and he can access them at any time. And we're using original sounds from the original records that I created. So like, yeah, it's really nice how everything comes full circle and how a tune can start off as one thing and then end up in a totally different place. And I think with this song in particular, a tune that I thought was, you know, worth nothing really, and then now it was the second song from the album, and I think it's got like it's got a bunch of plays on Spotify and that. So like, you know, it's actually turned out to be one of my fans' like most favorite tunes from the record. So yeah, that's that. I guess I don't know if there's any questions or if anyone has anything else that you'd like me to run through. But yeah, I'm an open book.
Yeah. I want to open up the questioning to the floor. I'm happy to actually, first I want to say I'm happy to see so many ladies in here, because I think we need more lady producers in the scene. So I'm happy to see that. But yeah, I want to open it up to Q&A if anybody has any questions. I'll start off first before we get out. I wanted to ask about the mixing. So you said you have an outside mixing and mastering engineer. Did you actually at one point did you ever try mixing on your own? And
yeah, with my first records I did all the mixing, and like I listen back to them now and they sound horrible. So like you know, and yeah, I think as I got on into my journey with music, like, yeah, as I was saying before, I think it's just really important to know what you're good at and what you're not good at, and surrounding yourself with a team that can elevate you and, you know, everything that you do, because you know, life is a collaboration, you know. So like, man, it's so beautiful to meet so many people from all over the world and like get their input, get their thoughts, get their feelings into my music, and it only makes the music better. And I'm not trying to limit myself in any way. So like, yeah, I'm always on the lookout for guys to collaborate with, guys and girls rather.
I have a question from the floor.
So you mentioned that you have a live band, or you work with some like live artists. Can you tell us a little bit more about that? What kind of genres, what kind of instruments?
The live band is just a bunch of my friends, really. Maeli Manzanza he used to be in this group from New Zealand called Electric Wire Hustle. It's also my boy Lewis Moody on keys and synthesizers, and he was the guy that I was introduced to through my record label. Like I released this album by this artist, Zeitgeist Freedom Energy Exchange, and he's the keyboardist from that group. And so he's on the road with us. And then also my girl El Shomada from Melbourne/Tokyo, who also comes in with violin, backing vocals, and additional synths, really. And then I'm on guitar and vocals. And so, yeah, it's been really fun with the band. It's so much fun traveling with them and like just getting to share the experience of music with like friends and family, really. And like we've become such a tight group in the short time that we've known each other. And like those guys are so talented, like way better musicians than I could ever imagine to be. And like it's really humbling, and I'm super grateful to be able to share my music with people that like of that caliber, like, because they're insane. They're literally insane.
Any other questions out there? I can see some people have questions, but they're nervous. They're shy. Oh, okay.
So any advice, like how do you like end up working with so many artists, or like forming a band, meeting all these people, like to be a producer, right? Like to run a studio session, like what kind of like skills do you have to work on, like, you know, in your own time to get to this stage where you can be like, hey, like this is kind of like, you know, my vision, this is what I want to do, and like to be able to pick, like to be able to like kind of to run a studio session, like how did you start out? Yeah.
I mean, I think first off, you need to put the 10,000 hours in, you know, making beats, like of all different genres, especially if you're going to be a producer with, you know, you're going to be working with a wide range of artists. So, you know, you got to put your there's no other way. You put your 10,000 hours in, you learn and you study as much music as you possibly can, so that when you're in the studio with any given artist, you've got a range of skills and knowledge that you've built up from your 10,000 hours that you can apply at any given situation. I think the important thing about being in a studio with other artists and like other vocalists, like with that tune Holler At You, that tune I did with Young Morpheus and Jaden, I think it's really important to give them the space to do what they need to do. And like as the producer on that session, like it's my job to really facilitate creation. So like, you know, and it's little things like, you know, making sure that they don't have to worry about the microphone, like that there's water, you know, just making the environment as comfortable as possible for creation to just happen. And, you know, like as a producer in that situation, I'm not really, you know, I'm really a facilitator. I'm really just trying to get whatever their ideas are in the most consolidated piece possible as quickly as possible. And I think, you know, putting those 10,000 hours in as a beat maker on your own or whatever it is, like it's just building up the muscle memory for decision making. Because like a lot of life, a lot of music is just being able to make really good decisions. Like, and I think one of the biggest skills that you can have as a producer is just being able to articulate your vision and execute really, 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 really quickly. And so yeah, there's no other way. You got to put the work in, you know, like no matter what you want to do. Most definitely.
You said you had an approach to Allen Ginsberg approach of the first idea is the best idea. I'm wondering, at what point does second guessing, if at all, does come in that process? Because you also mentioned that Hey Papi wasn't going to be on the album, but then your manager Amanda convinced you to put it on. So what point do you start kind of revising your ideas and maybe second guessing and be like, is this cool or is this not cool?
I mean, yeah, 100%. I guess, you know, when I'm speaking on the first thought, best thought idea, I'm mainly talking in the act of creation. Like when you're creating, you can't be like second guessing yourself. Like, you know, like when you're creating, you just need to create. And that's why I really emphasize just putting as many ideas on paper as possible. When you go back to the tune and you're trying to get it ready for release, for mixing, for mastering, whatever the case may be, that's when your critical, analytical mind needs to come in. So there's a time and place for everything. When you're creating, it's first thought, best thought. When you're in the process of getting the tune ready for release, that's when, you know, you need to turn on the other side of your brain and you know, making those critical choices on whether this sounds good, whether it doesn't sound good, and making those choices. You know, a lot of music is credit to the edit.
So I have two questions. The first one is how you decide to start making music. And the second one is, do you like techno music?
Hey.
Thank you.
Well, the first one, I mean, I don't think I've ever really decided to start making music. Like, it's just something that I've always done, you know. I guess important, like, to answer your question more specifically, like I would say that, you know, I started to take music seriously as a means of like making my way through this world when I guess I really wasn't presented with any other options. I was living in New York. I wasn't really on a working visa. And so like the only way that I could like legitimately make money was like cash in hand gigs, DJing, playing music live. And that's when, you know, as I started to do that and like people started booking me for various things, that's when I really started to take it seriously because I really didn't have any other option. So yeah, and I guess in terms, do I like techno? Like I grew up on techno, like you know, like a lot of Detroit stuff, Drexciya, Stingray, Underground Resistance. Like I come from that background, and that's what really got me into music production. Like, you know, I grew up playing the guitar and keys when I was young, but in terms of actually chopping up drum breaks and like playing with synthesizers, like that was like me discovering like a lot of music from Detroit, Moody Man, Theo Parrish. Like they were huge and still are to this day. And I feel like what makes my music unique unto me is like a lot of the techno / DJ kind of influences that I bring. Even though I'm doing kind of like soul music or like, you know, like guitar driven, I still make a lot of production choices as if I was a techno DJ or as if I was a hip hop DJ. Like, so I mean, yeah, that stuff is my childhood and that stuff is, you know, that's gonna be with me forever.
I want to wrap up by asking you a question. For any aspiring producers or singer-songwriters out there, what one or two nuggets of advice would you give them? Outside of the 10,000 hours, of course, practice is important. But sometimes, you know, looking at this DAW Ableton, looking at the craziness that Arturia V Collection is, and it looks so intimidating to some people. So what advice would you give to them?
I guess, yeah, in terms of being overwhelmed by the amount of choices there are in terms of synthesizers, DAWs, programs, effects, like, etc., etc. You know, like for me, I find a lot of freedom and I find a lot of creativity in actually limiting yourself. So like, you know, when I started out with a guitar, a drum machine and a Juno 6, and like, you know, just having those three things and knowing them intimately and knowing them inside out actually facilitates more creation. Because, you know, when you're squandered by a million choices, it's hard to know where you're trying to go. So like, you know, just learning one thing at a time, taking your time with it, just, you know, for instance, with the analog lab, like just getting to know that one VST as intimately as possible rather than overwhelming yourself with, you know, downloading 200,000 VSTs that are out there. You know, just getting to know your thing and like making, you know, because once you know what your equipment is, then it's unique unto you, and then you can imbue your personality and your childhood and your stories into the equipment that you're using. But, you know, if you're just randomly flicking through like whatever presets that everyone else is using, you know, you're not gonna really sound like you know. And I feel like a lot of music is just is choices and making sure that, you know, that whatever you're creating is actually you. Like, cause man, we got AI coming through, you know, it's, you know, I think it's more important than ever to understand who you are and making sure that you're getting that across.
Yeah, well said. And how can you use AI? I want to follow up on that, because this might be watch 10 years down the line and AI is taking over. So how do you use AI at all, and do you see that as a threat to musicians?
No, I mean, like I use AI like in terms of, at the moment we use it a lot for copywriting, for, you know, for just and also just idea generation. You know, as a producer, as an artist, like I'm looking for any tools that are gonna bring me as much inspiration as possible. So I see AI as just an extension of that, you know, as a tool. And like, you know, in the future, like I definitely see myself asking AI, hey, what bridge, like what chords would you suggest for a bridge here? Or what lyrics would you suggest that, you know, like, I'm not worried about AI taking, because AI is never going to be me. Do you know what I mean? Like, but I'm definitely excited and I'm very open and willing to see where how AI can help me elevate my game. Just as I use mixing engineers and bass players and drummers to help me elevate my music, I'm going to be looking at AI for the same thing.
Awesome. Well, on that note, I want to thank everybody for coming. I want to thank Mixmag Asia, Arturia, JITWAM, of course, Amanda, Arn, Alfred, etc. Arno, sorry. And yeah, thank you all for coming. I appreciate it.
Thank you guys. Thanks James as well. Eaton HK, Terrible Baby, much love, much love. Truly a blessing to be out here. Thank you.